Purpose, a caring approach to business.
Welcome, everybody!
I am convinced of this. Good done anywhere is good done everywhere. As long as you're breathing, there's still time to do some good. Wise words by the endlessly brilliant Maya Angelou. Welcome to Pollinating Purpose, a caring approach to business. I am your host and lover of nature but killer of houseplants, Miriam Waliji. I am also the Social Enterprise Program Manager and Coach at Pillar Nonprofit Network. For those of you who are new here, Pollinating Purpose is a show all about supporting organizations who seek to create social impact through their work. Whether not-for-profit, for-profit, or grassroots organizations, you'll learn key considerations to starting or growing your social purpose organization in a long-term and sustainable way. This week, we are thrilled to be welcoming Carolina Triana of Libro Credit Union. Carolina is a purpose integration specialist at Libro Credit Union. She supports the organization in its efforts to use business as a force for good and provides advice and guidance in projects connected to Libro's social and environmental impact. Carolina leads Libro's Community Investment Program and co-leads Libro's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council. She spearheaded Libro's BCorp certification and recertification process. And if you're unfamiliar, Libro Credit Union is a full-service financial cooperative serving more than 100,000 member owners in southwestern Ontario. Locally owned and operated as a purpose-driven business, Libro is committed to using their entire operations, resources, and influence to be a positive force in society and grow prosperity in the communities that they serve. Libro is a certified BCorporation, an associate member of Responsible Investment Association, and a living wage employer. Carolina will be sharing with us today about what BCorp is and how Libro came to be certified as a BCorporation. Welcome, Carolina.
Thank you, Miriam.
Thanks for being here. I'm excited to chat about this because, BCorp is one thing that I know about. I know the name, I kind of know what it means, but I don't know if I nearly know it. So that's why you're here.
Thanks, happy to be here.
Excellent. So before we kind of dive into the more kind of nuance of it all, can you share a little bit about what BCorp is and, why did Libro choose to pursue a BCorp certification?
Yeah, of course. So BCorp first is a movement of businesses using everything that they do, using their resources as a force for good.
Okay.
And then there is the BCorp certification. And the BCorp certification, basically what it does is that really ensures that a business is operating on a way that is having high standards in their social and environmental performance.
Okay.
So in order to be BCorp certified, you need to go through an assessment where a company answers a series of questions about your practices regarding community, regarding environment, regarding your customers, your governance, and then all these then is verified by BLAV, that is the non-for-profit behind BCorp, and they actually verify that you're doing and operating your business in the way you say you're doing.
Okay, cool. Can you share a little bit about how Libro decided to, pursue BCorp? Because there are other certification processes and other ways to kind of measure that. So what made you choose BCorp?
Yeah, of course. So there are different kind of frameworks to report on or measure your environmental, social, and governance performance. What we really like about BCorp is that it's actually the only one that you have a certification.
Okay.
And also what we really like about it is that it has this online tool that is very user-friendly. You go to this questionnaire that I mentioned, and in addition to just being a tool to answer these questions, it helps you to keep track and set goals for improvement. You have also the movement behind and this amazing kind of community behind BCorp, where you can share resources, you can share questions. You really are all striving for the same goal to improve society, to improve the way how we do business. So that was really, really aligned to Libro's purpose to grow prosperity. So we saw a really nice connection there.
Okay.
In addition to that, B Corp is like, the B, when you see the B, there is like trust behind that because, there is that third party that is verifying that you're doing things in certain way. So it helps attract people to work with Libro, people who wants to work for organizations whose values align to themselves. It helps us also attract and be transparent with our members, with our owners that we call, and with other people interested in doing their banking with an organization like us. So it really has a tremendous number of benefits. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I said, I don't necessarily, prior to this conversation, I haven't really had like a deep understanding of B Corp. But what I do know is that all of those organizations that have that B certification or that logo, that symbol, it's like a shared language or like a shared value system that I'm like, okay, well, I know that they all kind of align in some way, and I know I have value alignment with them. So there's like an assumption that I feel good about it, before I even go kind of deeper into understanding the organization. It's like, a shared language, I guess.
Yeah, certainly, shared language. And I would summarize this as trust. Right. Is trust. It's like, there is something behind that B. There is it is a holistic type of assessment. You really need to disclose on your practices. You need to provide supporting documentation. It's really, that it's not anyone can just be certified as B Corp. And there is a movement behind it.
Yeah. Okay, so that takes me to another good question of like that process to get certified. What does that look like? Like time, how long does it take? Like what sort of information do you need to have? What does the process look like to get certified as a B Corp?
The process varies depending on the size of the organization.
Okay.
But there are certain steps that are very similar for all of them. And it all starts with the B impact assessment. Okay. So organizations who already operating in a way that, whether it's a social enterprise, whether it's a purpose-based business, an organization who already cares about doing business in a ethical and the right way. You then go and complete the assessment. This is a free tool online. And there are 5 impact areas on that assessment. So you answer all those questions, you get a score.
Okay.
To be B Corp certified, you need 80 points. Then you also need to complete a disclosure questionnaire. So that is basically about any sensitive topics or industries that you may have business with. And then, as I mentioned, you need to keep kind of records that back up those answers that you have. Right. So once you're ready, you submit your assessment, and somebody from B Lab would connect with you and would look at your supporting documentations. Right. They go through that review. If there are any questions or things like that, you chat about those. And then when everything is good, your assessment is kind of completed and you are pretty much eligible for certification. But there is a very key thing that is a legal requirement. So B Corps need to have in their bylaws, depending on the type of organization, something that really makes them operate in a way that not only shareholders but stakeholders are considered in decision making.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that you need to comply with the legal requirement in order to be B Corp certified. Okay. And you also need to pay some fees, which vary depending on the size of the organization. Okay. The length of time varies, depending on the size of your business, depending on availability of information, depending on many things. But for us, I would say it took about, it was 2018, so I don't remember exactly, but I'm gonna say about 3-4 months.
Okay.
And B Lab, they're super helpful. If you have any questions, they help you through that. And there are a ton of tools online that walk you through the process.
Yeah, you mentioned there's like that free tool online. So even if someone wasn't necessarily looking at this time, like maybe they don't have all of the requirements to get that, like that B symbol, that certification, they could still use that tool to sort of understand where their impact is?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, the tool is available to everybody.
Cool.
You can use it and not pursue certification.
Right.
You can use it to, look at your practices, set some goals for improvement, and not pursue certification if that's not what you wish to do.
Yeah, sort of just like a self-assessment tool.
Exactly.
Like reflective practice kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you kind of touched on this a little bit in that, those fees and what the process actually looks like varies based on scale, but can only large-scale organizations be eligible for B Corp? Or, if someone who is just starting out, they can still consider, what it means to be B Corp certified?
Yeah, startups can be, there is something called like pending B Corp status.
Okay.
And that's a status that is given to allow time to go through this full assessment and is specific for startup companies. Okay. So again, like in the BCorporation.net, I think is the website, there is like a very good explanation of what startups can do to achieve that pending B Corp status. And then the actual B Corp certification, it can be the B Corp certification is done for companies from small, medium, large size.
Right.
So certainly all sizes of business can pursue the certification.
Okay. And then, so in your bio, it mentioned that you're a part of the process of the certification and then the recertification. So it's not like a one and done sort of thing?
Yeah.
No, okay.
Not at all. You need to be recertified every 3 years.
Okay.
Which I personally think that is great because it keeps you accountable. It keeps you accountable to maintaining those practices and actually improving. You get a new score. I forgot to mention that the impact assessment becomes public on the B Corp website. So anybody can go and check the companies that have the B and see how did you score in your assessment.
Right. I feel like I've seen that. I feel like maybe it was Patagonia or one of those organizations, but just kind of seeing where, like, comparative to other B Corp certified organizations, where their scores kind of all line up.
Exactly. Yes. So so that kind of adds to that trust. That and then you see your first score, and then every time you recertify, you see how the company is doing. There is also something called the Best for the World. So every year, B Corp looks at the best B Corps.
Right.
And they do the Best for the World. So we were actually super proud we were Best for the World in the overall category and in the workers category in 2019. Okay. So is that competing not only to be the best in the world, but the best for the world, because this is, as you know, like a global certification.
That idea of like that competitiveness, it's not necessarily like to win a prize, but it's an indication that, there's impact, there's positive impact that's being done through the work that you're doing. Okay, cool. You mentioned the certification kind of looks at an assessment of, I think you said social, environmental, and governance. Can you break it down a little bit? Like, what sort of things do they actually look for? Like you mentioned, like workers and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So there are 5 impact areas. One is governance. So looks at your stakeholder engagement and how you the governance structure of your company, ethics and things like that. The customers category looks at how you're engaging with your customers and the considerations that you are kind of keeping in mind in your practices with your customers. Your employees looks at, or workers, they call workers category, looks at diversity, equity, and inclusion, looks at wellness, looks at payment.
Right.
What's the difference between the highest paid person and the lowest paid person in the company? Are you paying a living wage? Like things like that. Environment. So are you measuring your emissions? Like what type of programs do you have connected to environment? Am I missing one? Workers. Oh, communities, of course.
Right.
Yeah, like a very important one. Communities, so how are you working with your community?
Right.
Looks at, your granting programs and partnerships with community members.
Right.
So it's a very comprehensive assessment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for some of those things, like let's say the workers, is that something where B Corp actually connects with the staff of your organization, or is it like a survey? Or?
It's a survey, but you do need to provide, for example, your policies. You need to give.
So like more kind of standardized practice sort of things.
Yeah. So whatever claim you make, you need to back that up.
Right.
So they can ensure that is actually in your practices.
Yeah. Just validating it to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really interesting. So on one of our past episodes, we talked to my colleague Luis about the SDGs. So, how is B Corp connected to those UN Sustainable Development Goals?
So B Corp or B Lab and the United Nations Social Compact, I think that's how they call. Okay. They developed the SDG Action Manager. So it is a similar tool to the B Impact Assessment, but what it does is helps you kind of understand your business, how or which of the Sustainable Development Goals you're impacting the most. Okay. And it helps you to, again, understand your practices, and with that, you can set goals and take action on the specific SDGs that you want to impact.
Right. Yeah. And again, that conversation again came up last time of SDGs are like a shared language where, there's a set understanding of if you're addressing this thing, this is the kind of ways that you might be making impact.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, there's, B Corp is so fascinating because we talk about, as organizations who are wanting to do good and like the social impact things, impact measurement is such a key and vital part of that. And it can also just be like really overwhelming and really confusing because it's like, there's that quantitative thing of like, okay, you need numbers, you need metrics, you need to be able to show something and like be accountable to that. But also impact is beyond just numbers. It's like, it's a feeling as well. It's, it's the way that you can see your community be better. So it sometimes feels like B certification and the work that's done around B Corp is like a marrying of the two in some way.
Yeah, certainly measuring impact is difficult, and and I would say the B Impact Assessment help you measure your practices and help you kind of ensure that you're in the right track. But a lot of the impact is what you feel is happening or is changing or is transforming around you, and that's something that I also like about being part of this movement is like when we joined, there were only about 3,700 B Corps globally, and now there are over 6,000.
Okay.
So, for example, you start working with your suppliers. You start working or telling the people around you about this. And people are interested. We have a great success story that we're super proud. One of our vendors or partners that we work with at Libro, they're called McCabe, and they do our merchandise and our clothing. And we started talking with them about, we want things that are locally made in Canada. We want things that are better with the environment. We all these things are important to us, and we just became B Corp certified, and they got curious about that, and they went through the whole process, and they became certified as well, and they made the improvements that they needed to do to continue operating in a way that aligned with their values as well. So you influence the companies and the world around you to be better.
Yeah, it's like that ripple effect, right? Like you can do, and that's kind of the idea of like the social impact sphere, sector, whatever you want to call it. But that idea that, you don't have to do everything, because if you do the thing that you're good at, and do it with like intention and with meaning, then there's that ripple effect, because you never work in silo, you never work in isolation. So you're always having these conversations, and you have an opportunity to like positively influence the way other people are thinking about their organizations, and that's really meaningful. That's cool. I love a good success story. So that kind of brings me a little bit to just a question of curiosity for you, because you've been a part of the B Corp process for so long. Like, what's your favorite thing about B Corp? And you may have already mentioned it in some of these other questions, but
I guess my favorite thing is let me think that a little bit more. Is the sense of being part of a movement. It's just is that sense that we're all in this together, that there's so many challenges in the world right now, and sometimes you feel just helpless, right? And as an individual and as a part of a business like Libro, where we have a bigger purpose, you're still tiny in the big scheme of things, right? So being part of this movement of 6,000 and growing makes you feel like you have a little bit of like power as a group to help society and the world improve.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's, I like that. Just being a part of something beyond yourself is always, it's a nice feeling.
Yeah.
What would you say were like some of the harder parts of the certification process? Like either barriers that you had to navigate as an organization, or just some of the learnings that you had, maybe. Just some of the things that were like trickier than, because there's always tricky things when you do things like this.
Yeah, of course. Well, for us, it was kind of, we were already operating in a way that aligned very closely with B Corp. So I'm gonna say that perhaps the biggest challenge was mostly in the navigating the assessment for the first time and gathering information from different departments, and just like mostly the operational type of thing. Just we need this information, and let's put all this together, and it was more of the technicalities, I guess, in doing the things that anything else. I think it was very well aligned with who we were already as a cooperative, as a purpose-based business. So there was no kind of conflict in trying to do something that was different. It was just mostly let's answer these many questions.
Yeah, it was just like the actual
organized manner.
Finding the time to do the process kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then, so you mentioned that, there's maybe one of the harder parts was actually navigating like what you need to like the actual part of the process. But you also mentioned that, you know, B Corp had a lot of really great customer service. Like, is that kind of how you found those answers, or did you talk to other people who were B Corp certified? Yeah, how did you kind of navigate those?
So I through the B Corp or the B Lab,
B Lab.
People that were supporting us at that time, you know, things such as how you interpret a particular question. You know, we maybe were not sure about that. Yes, but I'm gonna say the process was very not easy, but not super complicated for us. It was just a matter of time and finding the information, and then the value is also what you do with it, right? So you completed your assessment, you got this score, and then analyze that information to see where are the opportunities to continue improving, and what are the things that you're already doing well, and keep doing what you're doing well, and do better where you can do better.
Amazing. Okay, so in the final couple of minutes, can you share a little bit more about where folks can find out information about Libro and the work that you do as an organization?
Yes, of course. So our website, Libro.ca, and also we have 37 locations across Southwestern Ontario. There is, you know, if you're in London, close to where we are, we're actually moving our downtown branch very close to Victoria Park.
Okay, cool.
Just find the bright, colorful mural.
Amazing.
And that's where we're gonna be. But yeah, Libro.ca.
Cool. Amazing. Yeah, and there's that super handy map on the website where you can find all the branches, which I've definitely used before. So amazing. Well, thank you so much, Carolina, for being here. This was lovely. I learned a lot, which is always a benefit of these conversations. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it was great to have you.
Thanks.
Thank you once again to Carolina from Libro Credit Union for joining us on today's episode and for chatting with us about all things B Corp. If you're interested in learning more about Pillar Nonprofit and some of the work that we do with social enterprise, which is actually funded by Libro, you can head on over to our website at pillarnonprofit.ca/social enterprise. Once again, I am your host, your pal, your business bud, Miriam Waliji, and you have been listening to Pollinating Purpose, a caring approach to business. I am so thrilled that you're here.